Hey everybody, welcome to the Chapter 1 guided assignment. This shouldn't take us too long, and the intent of these guided assignments is just to walk you through some of the concepts for the chapter. So even though you get a grade for it, this isn't like a test that's measuring how much you've learned. This is still part of the learning process, like reading the chapter or uh, like like a lecture or something like that. So we're just going to go through this together. So there's 3 questions in this guided assignment. If you follow along with me, you'll get an easy A, and you'll learn something that will help you with the rest of the work for this chapter. So let's just jump into it. Question number 1, tablet PC comparison provides a wide variety of information about tablet computers. Their website enables consumers to easily compare different tablets using factors such as cost, type of operating system, display size, etc. You can read all that. A sample of 10 computers is shown below. So here's our 10 computers and all their information. So the first question is, how many elements are in the data set? And so the elements are the number of items we're measuring. So it tells us there's 10. We could count them up. There's 10 elements in this data set. And then the number of variables are the number of things we're measuring about these tablets. So we're not going to include the tablets column, but cost is a variable, operating system, display size, battery life, and CPU. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables being measured. All right. So which variables are categorical and which variables are quantitative? Remember, categorical means it just describes a category that these items, in this case, the tablets, belong to. But we can't typically assign any mathematical or numerical value to the categories, whereas a quantitative variable can be measured in terms of quantity. So cost, that's quantitative, right? They all have a different cost involved that we could subtract one from another even to see the difference between the two. So we're going to call that quantitative. Operating system is a category, so categorical. It's like we have 3 of them: Windows, iOS, and Android. Display size, that is quantitative, right? It's a numerical thing. Battery life is quantitative. And then the CPU manufacturer is categorical. Now, it could be tricky because most of the time, yeah, if it's numbers, we're going to say quantitative, and if it's words, we're going to say categorical. There are occasionally types of weird numerical things like zip codes that, even though they're numbers, the numbers don't mean anything numerically. Um, and so they're just sort of like a number that's used as a category. But usually you're safe if you go that route. Numbers are quantitative and words are categorical. Part D, or question D, what type of measurement scale is used for each of these variables? So our options are ordinal, ratio, or nominal. Remember, ordinal is a quantitative um, measurement scale, and it allows us to put things in order. Okay, so um, anything that we're measuring with numbers, that we can use the numbers to put it in order, like one thing's higher than the other. But with ordinal data, there's no true 0 point. So a good example of this would be like temperature. Temperature has a 0. It can be 0 degrees Fahrenheit out, but that doesn't mean like that there's an absence of temperature, which a true 0 point means the absence of something. Instead, it's just another temperature on the scale that we've just designated as 0. Um, if we contrast that to ratio information, where again it's quantitative, and we can use it to order things, but there's a true 0 point. So dollars are a good example. If I have $0, it means I have the absence of dollars, and so it does have a true 0 point. And then finally, nominal. Nominal, if you think of the Latin root of that, nom, which means name, really just tells us the name of something, and we can't really use it to make any order to it, right? So kind of like our operating systems, we we can't say that an Android is twice as good as Windows. We might have that opinion, but we can't measure that in any way. All right, so cost, it has numbers and it has a true 0 point. So we're going to say that's a ratio measurement scale. Operating system, those are just names, so it's nominal. Display size, if we had a display size of 0, would we have no display size? Yes, so that has a true 0 point as ratio. Battery life, same thing. If we had 0 battery life, we would not have any battery. And the CPU manufacturer, that's just names again. So that is nominal. So that's it for question number 1. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. And hopefully it all makes a little more sense now. Just so you know, on these guided problems, if you're wanting to do them on your own and just follow along with a video like this video, you have unlimited checks. So you can make mistakes, no problem. You can go back and adjust and make things right. All right, let's look at question 2. So question 2 looks like the same data, but now they're going to ask us some basic statistical information about them. What's the average cost? Compare the average cost. And what's really nice is they give us this little link here that we can click on. And you'll see, I actually had already had it open, but it brings up this information in Excel. And typically when you click on it, it brings it up in Excel online if you have Microsoft 365. I prefer to download it and use my desktop, but you can do whatever you want. Desktop has a few more robust tools that we'll use later in the course, but for now, I think either one's fine. So if we click download file, again, you can see I'd already downloaded it earlier. But I'm going to go ahead and open it in my Excel desktop. And then I'm going to split my screens here. So now, and I'll close my download, and I'll go back to my homework here. All right, so now I have all the information. I just wanted to show you a few simple functions in Excel that might make your life easier as you get more comfortable using them. So the first one, question A, is what's the average cost for the tablets? So I'm just going to label this average cost. And then I'm going to use the function equals. Whenever we're going to do a function in Excel, we start with an equal sign. Average. Then I do an open parenthesis and I highlight all the items I want to take an average of. Close the parenthesis and hit enter. It does all the work for me. Nice. I don't have to add them up and divide by the number. I can just do equals average. This asks for the answer to 2 decimal places. And so I'm going to actually just, if you come into home and go under number, we can change your decimals right there. So my average cost is $582.90. All right, the second one, part B, or question B, compare the average cost of tablets with a Windows operating system to the average cost of tablets with an Android operating system. Okay, so there's a couple things I could do. I could just do an average and go through and select the ones that are Windows and the ones that are average. But I can also use a little tool. If I highlight all of my data like this, and then I click on data, I can click on sort and tell it what column I want to sort by. So I want to sort by operating system, hit OK. And now you'll see I have all the Androids together, the iOS and the Windows. So if I want to say average cost of Windows operating system, now I can just do equals average, open parenthesis, highlight the cost of all of my Windows computers, close the parenthesis. That gives me an average there, and I can do average cost Android equals average. Highlight the cost of all my Android systems. And it does that work for me. So the average cost for Windows operating system, $723.20. And the average cost of an Android is $428.50. The average cost with a blank operating system is much higher. So, well, looks like Windows is much higher. So I'll choose Windows. All right, question C. What percentage of tablets use a CPU manufactured by TIOMAP? So I could do a couple things. It looks like I could sort by manufacturer, but it looks like they're already sorted because they kind of lined up with the Android, with the operating system. So I know I have 10 in my data set here. And so if we were using statistics terms, we would say our N, which is the number in the sample, equals 10. And then I could use an Excel function to count the number of TIOMAP, but looking at this, it's pretty easy. I can just do 2. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to say percent TIOMAP, and that's going to equal the number of them that are TIOMAP, which is 2, divided by N, or the number in the total data set. That represents it as a decimal. If I want, I can come up to home, number, and click on the percent sign. And now it tells me 20%. So 20%, 0.2, are manufactured by TIOMAP. D says, what percentage of tablets use Android operating system? Same thing. I'm going to say the number of Android, 1, 2, 3, 4, divided by N, which is the total number in the sample. And that gives me 40%. Again, not too hard. Hopefully you learned something with these functions, or maybe you already knew them. I don't know. Depends on how much you've used Excel before. I'll check my work just to make sure I didn't make a silly mistake. And I didn't. That's exciting. And I'm going to move on to question 3. I'm just going to scroll down. All right. So this is a random telephone survey of 1,021 adults aged 18 or older, was conducted by Opinion Research Corporation on behalf of Complete Tax, an online tax preparation and e-filing service. The survey results show that 684 of those surveyed plan to file their taxes electronically. All right, so I always kind of just try to start with what I know already. So N, or the number in our sample, equals 1,021. That's the number of people we surveyed. And then I'm going to use S, which is going to stand for the number of successes. You could also put like S and then just whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it, as long as it's something you can know what it means. Successes, or the number of people who filed electronically, who say they're going to file electronically, is 684. All right, so A is develop a descriptive statistic that can be used to estimate the percentage of all taxpayers who file electronically. And so all we're going to do is say, well, what percentage of our sample filed electronically? And then we'll say we would guess, we have an estimate that probably a certain percentage of all taxpayers file this way. So I'm going to say percent that file electronically. And I'm just going to find the percentage of my sample that did, which is, I'm going to hit equals the number who filed electronically divided by N, the total number that we surveyed. I come out with 66.99 or 0.6699 if I want to have that expressed as a percentage, 67%. Survey reported that the most frequently used method for preparing the tax return was to hire an accountant or professional tax preparer. If 60% of people surveyed had their tax return prepared this way, how many people used an accountant or professional tax preparer? So I'm going to say this one is looking for a number of people. And again, all we have is the sample to go off of. So if they say 60% or 0.6 times the number of people we surveyed, That comes out to 612.6 people. And so it says round to the nearest whole number, so I'm going to put 613. So 60% of the total surveyed is 613 if we round it. All right, question C, what other methods that a person filing a return often use, other methods that the person filing the return often use include manual preparation, use of online tax service, and the use of software tax programs. Would the data for this method of preparing the tax return be considered categorical or quantitative? So if we had a list of things that people could choose, or we let them choose and they said, oh, I do it, use software, or I do it online, that's not numerical, so it's not quantitative, that is categorical data. Check our work to make sure we didn't make any dumb mistakes, and we didn't, so we're good. So that's it. That's the first guided assignment. Again, I hope that maybe you learned a little bit about Excel, and maybe you also, well, not maybe, I hope it helped you feel more confident going into the assignment for this week. Anyway, as always, if you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know, and have a great week.